Shalom, more praise to Yahweh, Shemel Shah, double line to the Apostle JMS. This is I'm Noah Allah coming at you with the video. Now the last thing we left off on was continuing going on to the tribe, Simeon Levi. Last thing we went into was the topic of religious syncretism, which syncretism is when you're synchronizing two different schools of thought, two different things into one. So I want to go back into that a little bit to refresh your memory and then continue on with the lesson. That this is from Wikipedia, Haitian Voodoo, and this is down in the section called, bear me 1 second, Before the Revolution. It says, the Code Noir issued by King Louis XIV in 1685 forbade the open practice of African religion on Saint Domingue. This code compelled slave owners to have their slaves baptized and instructed as Roman Catholics. The fact that the process of enslavement led to these Africans becoming Christian, in other words, or Israelites becoming Christians, was a key way in which the slave owners sought to morally legitimate their actions. However, many slave owners took little interest. Let me jump down. Okay, here you go. Enslavement destroyed the social fabric of African traditional religions, which are typically rooted in ethnic and family membership. Although certain cultural assumptions about the nature of the universe would have been widely shared among the enslaved Africans, they came from diverse linguistic and ethno-cultural backgrounds and had to forge common cultural practices in Hispaniola. Gradually, over the course of the 18th century, Voodoo emerged as a composite of various African ethnic traditions, merging diverse practices into a more cohesive form. These African religions had to be practiced secretly. That goes back to come out into the secret. With Roman Catholic iconography and rituals probably adopted so as to conceal the true identity of the deities that enslaved Africans were serving. So we see how they started to synchronize Roman Catholic iconography and rituals to conceal the true identity of the deities they were serving, or the laws of Voodoo. Now when you go back to this right here, Code Noir, let's read about that a little bit, and let's go and read the actual Code Noir itself so we can understand why they were baptized. The Code Noir was a decree, or in other words, Black Code, was a decree passed by King Louis XIV of France in 1685 defining the conditions of slavery in the French colonial empire. The decree restricted the activities of free people of color, mandated the conversion of all enslaved people throughout the empire to Catholicism, defined the punishments meted out to slaves, and ordered the expulsion of all Jews from French colonies. So let's read Code Noir. Now this is from a website called revolution.chnm.org. The Code Noir, Black Code, titled The Code Noir, the Black Code. Okay, let's read the description. Description: the Code Noir initially took shape in Louis XIV's edict of 1685, although subsequent decrees or following decrees modified a few of the code's provisions. The first document established the main lines for the policing of slavery right up to 1789. The very first article expels all Jews from the colonies. Jews played a significant but hardly dominant role in the Dutch colonies of the Caribbean region, but were not allowed to own properties or slaves in the French colonies. The edict also insisted that all slaves be instructed as Catholics and not as Protestants. For the most part, the code concentrated on defining the condition of slavery, passing the condition through the mother, not the father. Let me get that in Latin real quick. Which that in Latin is called partus sequester ventrum. Literally, that which is born follows the womb. Also, partus was a legal doctrine passed in colonial Virginia in 1662 and other English crown colonies in the Americas, which defined the legal status of children born there. The doctrine mandated that children of slave mothers would inherit the legal status of their mothers. Just so you can get an idea on that. So that way the slave masters could rape the slave woman and the children would still be slaves. But let's keep going. It says slaves have virtually no rights. I'm right here. Slaves have virtually no rights, though the code did enjoin masters to take care of the sick and old. And it right here, this gives you the source. Date May 6, 1687. Now let's go right down. On the Edict of the King on the subject of the policy regarding the islands of French America, March 1685, recorded at the Sovereign Council of Saint Domingue, 6th of May 1687. So let's go right to it. We are going to The Article 2. Article 2. All slaves that shall be in our island shall be baptized and instructed in the Roman, Catholic, and Apostolic faith. We enjoin the inhabitants who shall purchase newly arrived Negroes to inform the governor and intendant of said islands of this fact with no more than 8 days, or risk being fined an arbitrary amount. So they basically have to be baptized within no more than 8 days, or else you could be fined. They shall give the necessary orders to have them instructed and baptized within a suitable amount of time. Okay? So they have to be baptized and instructed in those faiths, in those beliefs. So we see when we read in the Wikipedia article that they had to be baptized. Let's keep going. And it said that's what led to them using Roman Catholic iconography in order to conceal the deities they were serving. Now let's look at Article 3, which I didn't mention. We forbid any religion other than the Roman Catholic and Apostolic faith from being practiced in public. We desire that offenders be punished as rebels, disobedient of our orders. We forbid any gathering to that end, which we declare to be convictable, illegal, seditious, like an uprising against government, and subject to the same punishment as would be applicable to the masters who permit or accept it from their slaves. See that? What does that word convictable mean? An assembly of an irregular, come not into the assembly, see? An assembly of an irregular or unlawful character. So they couldn't gather. They couldn't practice any of the faith. They couldn't gather together because it'll be deemed convictable. Irregular assembly. Illegal and seditious. So guess what? They had to do it in secret. Genesis 49:6. O my soul, come not thou into this secret. The secret of Simeon Levi. Not just the plot that they had to slay those who had defiled their sister. To slay the family of those I believe it was a Hamor, who had violated their sister. But also coming to their secret that's talking about that voodoo and that Santeria. We're going to get into that one in the next show. But it's their secret because they had to do it in secret. So let's go back to the Wikipedia article real quick. It was Shechem, who's the father of Hamor was the father of Shechem, who was a Hivite. So we see where it says the Code Noah issued by King Louis XIV in 1685 forbade the open practice of religions on Saint Miguel. All right, so they did mention it in Article 3. And the code compels slave owners to have their slave baptized and instructed as Roman Catholics. That's Article 2. So they did mention Article 3. But when you go down, as you read earlier, it said these African religions, I'm right here, these African religions had to be practiced secretly. Come not into their secret, we just read that. With Roman Catholic iconography and rituals probably adopted so as to conceal the true identity of the deities that enslaved Africans were serving. So let's give you an example of how they concealed them. Now this here is St. Patrick, right? Who was looked at as a Roman Catholic saint. Of course they had an image of a so-called white man here. But it says St. Patrick was a 5th century Romano-British Christian missionary and bishop in Ireland. Let's go to the point. A legend. Patrick uses shamrock and nope, that's not it. Right here. Patrick banishes snakes from Ireland. Ireland was well known to be a land without snakes, and this was noted as early as the 3rd century by Gaius Julius Solinus. But later legend credited Patrick with banishing snakes from the island. So snakes weren't said to have ever been in Ireland, which the snakes were said to have been supposed to have been pagans. Which, you know, people who speak deceit, like a pagan would be perceived as someone who speaks deceit, a lie, would be looked at as a viper, a serpent, a snake. The earliest text to mention an Irish saint banishing snakes from Ireland is in fact the life of Saint Columba. I'll read a little bit more. Chapter 3:2-3, written in the late 7th or early 8th century. The earliest writings about Patrick ridding Ireland of snakes are by Jocelyn A. Furness in the late 12th century. I don't gotta read anymore. But it gives you, it says, The hagiographic theme of banishing snakes may draw on the biblical account of the staff of the prophet Moses in Exodus 7 and 8 to verse 13. Moses and Aaron used their staff. You know that story. Okay? And who did the people who practice voodoo, who did they associate St. Patrick with? The voodooists or the voodoo practitioners, voodoo stunts, associated with St. Patrick with Dambala. Dambala, also spelled Dambala, among other variations, is one of the most important of all Loa spirits in Haitian voodoo and other African diaspora religious traditions such as Obeah. I'm gonna jump right down. In voodoo societies that view Dambala as the primordial creator, he created the cosmos by using the 7,000 colors to form the stars and the planets in the heavens and to shape the hills and valleys on earth. In others, being the first thing created by God, creation was undertaken through him by shedding the serpent's skin. Dambala created all the waters on the earth. As a serpent, he moved between land and water, generating life and through the earth, uniting the land with the waters below. Dambala is usually synchronized with either St. Patrick or Moses. He is counted among the Rada Loa, but Rada means they're just spirits in voodoo. And this is Dambala. This is a VV, or image or symbol, religious symbol that's associated with him right there. And it's supposed to be Dambala. Dambala is seen as benevolent and patient, wise and kind, yet detached and removed from the trials and tribulations of daily human life. His very presence brings peace, and he represents a continuum which is at once the ancient past and the assurance of the future. As a serpent, and due to his extreme age, he does not speak but may whistle or make a soft hissing sound. So he's associated with who? With what? A serpent. Just like who? St. Patrick. So they'll have an image of St. Patrick up there, but really they worship in Dambala. They just synchronized Dambala with St. Patrick because both of them are what? Associated with snakes, associated with serpents. That way they could be openly worshiping, praising St. Patrick, but really, who's associated with serpent, but really praising Dambala, who's also associated with the serpent. See that? When a servitor is believed to be possessed by Dambala during the ceremony, he or she moves on the floor like a serpent. A white sheet is laid down for him and another waved over him to fan and cool him. His purity is such that it cannot be allowed to be exposed to impure or unclean things. This is ridiculous, man. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, if you go back and look at the Vivi, or this symbol for Dambala, look close. You see how you see two serpents right here? Now, check this out. This is from Child's Play Part 1. You see these same two serpents? Remember, whenever Chucky's doing that voodoo incantation, doesn't he say that Dambala? Remember he says that? But that's the image for Dambala right there. I don't want to put it up because I might get a strike or something on my page, but this shows you. You can just type in Child's Play voodoo doll, Child's Play, whatever. You gotta just search and you'll find a clip of it. And this website called dialogueinstitute.org. Voodoo, Origin and Beliefs. The origin of voodoo emerged in Haiti in the 16th century as a massive amount of African slaves were transported to the island, then known as Saint Domingue. Voodoo was a creolized religion, meaning its birth was the result of a mixture of different cultures, such as ethnic African religions and Catholic principle present in Haiti, then a French colony. Cosmology, similar to Yoruba cosmology, voodoo origins tell of one supreme god, Bandai, who is responsible for the creation of the universe and overseer of human activity. Let me just jump down. Voodoo, Loa, and Catholic states. Voodoo being a combination of multiple different religious traditions and ethnic traits. Loa were paired with a Catholic saint and represented by similar iconography and purposes. Dambala, St. Patrick, associated with snakes and perceived as a grandfather figure. St. Patrick drove snakes out of the island in Catholicism. Ogu, St. George, warrior deity who presides over war, politics, and fire. St. George, known for fighting a dragon in Catholicism. Papa Legba, St. Peter or Lazarus, or Anthony, guardian of the crossroads and trickster deity, he is known for being persuasive and deceptive. Erzulie Dantor, depicted as the Black Madonna of Poland, notion brought to Haiti by Polish soldiers, became known as the mother of all Haitians, protector of children, and patron saint of the nation. Let's look at Erzulie Dantor. Erzulie Dantor, see? Erzulie. See that? It's supposed to be the Black Madonna or Virgin Mary, so to speak. They mentioned Papa Legba. See? This is supposed to represent this Hector Hippolyte, who was a Haitian painter, and this is supposed to be like a Ogun, who was St. George. That's supposed to be St. George. See, he has a weapon in his hand, fighting the dragon. Just like this image here. He has a weapon in his hand. See that serpent right there? Baron Samedi, Loire of the Dead, Sex and Resurrection. Commonly depicted with a top hat and tuxedo, he is known for obscenity and debauchery, and also for the guarding of the dead so they do not transform into zombies. Let's look at Baron Samedi. This is a painting of Baron Samedi. This is supposed to be Baron Samedi in the movie James Bond. As a matter of fact, this guy played, who did he play? He worked for the company that produced that perfume, I think it was called Strange in the movie Boomerang. Him right here, Jeffrey Lamont Holder. Him. He was Baron Samedi. See, there you go. And James Bond, that's him. And Baron Samedi. Now this is from a website called Catholic.org, right? It says, this is supposed to be a prayer to St. Anthony of Padua, a reviver of the dead, or in other words, a resurrected of the dead. That's what he's associated with. That's what Baron Samedi is associated with. Okay? St. Anthony's Miracle, the dead man speaks. And this, I'm not going to read it, but it's supposed to be a, once again, it's him associated with resurrection. I don't really have to read any more about St. Anthony. You get what St. Anthony is associated with resurrection, which is the reason why it's supposed to be a prayer to St. Anthony for resurrection or reviving, your spirit, if you will. Okay? It's supposed to represent one of the miracles. Let me read it. It says, I don't want to read the whole thing. But he's also associated with St. Peter too, Baron Samedi. Some sources say Baron Samedi is associated with St. Anthony. Some say St. Peter. Some say it's not St. Peter. But he's like a guardian of the underworld, if you will. A reviver of the dead. And St. Peter was said to have had the keys. Now, I hope I don't get a strike for this. But this is a clip from the movie Child's Play. This is right after the situation where Chucky was in the back of the car with the detective and he tried to kill him. This is at the 57-19 minute mark. Now they're going to Charles Lee Ray's house. It was Chucky's real name. Now look at this. That's the image of Dambala, the Vive. That's supposed to be Charles Lee Ray bound to the feet of his Mambo. I believe it's called the Mambo. The doctor, the priest, the voodoo. And you see him, let me go back. You see him, the guy John who gets killed with the voodoo doll. You see him pointing to the image of Dambala. That Vive, that symbol. This is wicked, man. She said, "Thank you, Dumbledore." He's thanking him for life after death.
Karen.
And that's the detective behind her.